Hi and welcome to this art class, my first one, and this will be teaching you how to do a colourful face similar to this one. So this is one I've done previously and I'll use that as the example of what we will create, something similar. The paper I'm using is 300 GSM paper. It's out of an Art by Marlene art journal. So it was just out of this one and I just took a page out of that. I've done several other pictures, faces, and a lot of it's acrylics. Sometimes I'll put a collage on, and the paper, the 300 GSM, tends to take a lot of fluid and rubbing or shading or lots of pencil marking and things. So I've taken a page out of that and that's what we'll be working on. So to start with, I'm just using a water-soluble Faber-Castell Albrecht Dürer is the brand, water-soluble pencil, and it's a dark blue. Helio blue reddish it's called, but it's just a nice dark blue, and I'm just going to do in the guidelines or the outlines of a face. I'm going to make it quite a lot bigger than what I usually do because I want it to fill a lot of the page. The bigger the better, because in this particular portrait, her eye is rather large and really draws you in. So that's the basic. I've just done several markings. Sort of hold your pencil above the page a little bit. Sometimes the pencil's touching, sometimes it's not, and you just play with it and get the sort of shape that you're wanting. A little bit of a pointed chin, narrower chin than the big ovals, and then we can work out the shapes later anyway. And then roughly put in a bit of a neck as well. So we're only really doing one side of the face at her eye anyway, at the eye level. So that's just made a mark down, a line down the middle of her face vertically, and one across the half or 2/3 up from her chin, and then just marking out a nice sized eye. Putting a mark on each side of the eye, doing a half of an eye shape at the top there, and same with doing a fairly rounded bulbous bottom of the eyelid there. Okay, and then between the eye and the chin, the line, I'll make a halfway mark there, halfway down that line, and that'll be for the nose. So the nose can just be one crescent like that, and then with a couple of the nostrils as little small crescents next to the nose. So these are just basic outlines just before we get doing a little bit more shading and filling it out. So again, halfway between the nose and the chin is where we will put the mouth. So just put a mark there for the mouth. That'll be the centre of her mouth. You can draw in the pupil or the iris, and then the pupil, about halfway where the pupil is, will be the corners of her mouth. So this isn't really drawn to an accurate scale, but it's probably a bit wide, that mark, so that's all right, it's just a guide. And then I've done the peak there of her lips, and then a crescent under here for the bottom lip, and that'll probably do for the markings of her mouth. Put the the middle line in, not too straight, it can have a bit of a curve. And we can then go to her hairline. So just doing hold the pencil at the end of the pencil and do just a fairly uncontrolled light marking there over her face of the hairline. That'll be covering that half of the face, and same again, one coming down the other side of the face. And then this is where all our colour will come in, just making her hair a little bit higher up here at the top. Making a part line and some hair there. So we've got a nice full coverage of her face and hair on this A4 piece of paper, 300 GSM it is. We can tweak the lips a bit and put in eyelid, so another line, and then exaggerating the iris and the pupil. And I find with this particular girl, it's quite nice to keep this bit of whiteness underneath her eye, and then just doing the corner of her eye, just a few markings there, same there, but we can do all that more with our shading. Just going to add some water to this watercoloured pencil, and you'll see the effect of it, washing it, giving it a nice shaded effect. We can pull some of that pigment down and make it quite dark next to her hairline, give the shadow effect of that covering the face a bit. Also going over any lines here. I'm going to avoid the pupil and iris at the moment because we'll use other colours, and really pull that out. Same with the nose, and I haven't wet the brush again. I'm using quite a big bristled brush, so it will sort of hold a lot of water while I'm doing this. And same with the lips, we can just go over those pencil marks we made, and again over the face. Dip in a bit more water and wash a bit of water through here, and this will just give us a little bit more of our outlines that we're wanting. And I'm not really worrying about all the extra lines we made before, because that'll just get buried with different layers of mediums that we use. So I'm just going to focus on the eye now. I've got a smaller brush and some other green watercolour pencils of varying brands, but both of them, two are Faber-Castell and one is Prismacolor watercolour pencil, and I find I quite enjoy that one as well. And I've got a smaller pencil, just going to dip that in the water now, and I like to do the green, the darker greens, or if you're doing darker blue, on the outsides and up on these upper corners and around the lower edges of your iris, and then just pushing that around a little bit with your paintbrush. And we can put some lighter greens in around the bottom of the pupil. Put a few sort of mid-green tones as little splotches, and can even put some of our blue in that we use to sketch the outlines of the face. And we can go in with white and put in highlights later on. I'll make that a little bit more rounded, that edge. Could add a bit of yellow for some highlights as well. And I'm not going to water that down, I'll just leave that sitting on top. We can put some black. I've got a Stabilo Aquarelle black, and just make the pupil as black as you can. You could choose to leave a circle there, or in any part of the pupil really, for a highlight. Bit of broken lead. And with the black aquarelle, do that upper lid fairly dark as well. That always looks nice. And just touch that with a little bit of water as well. You can bring whatever's on your brush to do your lower lid too, and you just want that to be a little subtler. And now for some colouring of the hair. I've got some Neo Colour 2 Aquarelle water-soluble wax pencils or pastels, water-soluble crayons. But I just love these. You can either mark them and then apply the water, but I like to apply the water to the edges. I'll just peel some of this off. And it's the Neo Colour 2, which are the water-soluble ones. And I just use the paintbrush with some water onto the crayon itself. And it's a bit too much water there, I'll just rub that with a rag. Get some pigment on the brush and then paint it on, and it goes on a lot softer that way. And then go in with another colour. It might be another green, just to go in keeping with perhaps the colour theme next to her eye. But it doesn't matter which colours you choose, they all look good. Put some red, bring some red in over here. Or it's more an orangey, nice orangey colour. And some purple, just doing rainbow hair. Like what's very popular. I've splattered that accidentally, but anyway, that won't matter. That all adds to character. And maybe a hot pink. Put a few strokes of that through. And not really being very careful at all, just applying the colour. Putting it on the paper as well as the paintbrush. That sometimes works as a different effect as well. Use some of the watercolour pencil I was using to do, well, this one's a little bit darker, this blue. Just do some darker markings in other parts of her hair. Create some interesting looking lines, put that through. Doing the eyelid. Using the bigger bristles, just getting some of this darkness around here. Getting some messy sort of scribbles just to add a little bit more waywardness to the hair. And then we can go in again with the crayons, but using them to actually make some marks. Just having a little bit of randomness with them.